Listen, every year we say the Oscars don't matter to us when what we want doesn't win, but we're all back there next year watching or complaining about it. I think there's a place for the Oscars, but like Rotten Tomatoes, a lot of people take it way more seriously than they should or kind of misunderstand the way that it's meant to be used. So thanks to Squarespace, I wanted to combine my recap of this past Oscars and also prove to you guys a lot of the behind the scenes that happens with the Oscars that you guys don't know about and all of the bamboozling that goes on. Let me explain. Now, I love watching the Oscars, right? I think you can disagree with a ceremony while understanding its merits, and I know a lot of people are just going to take everything else that I say in this video and think that I hate the Oscars when I really don't, but you especially got to understand why things happen the way they do. Now, I have my own little theory that all of those random changes that they kept pitching before the show ever aired weren't ever actually going to get implemented because we saw they never were, but it was actually all a part of their plan in something that I call the Sherlock Gnomes effect. A movie where 70% of that horrible trailer wasn't even in the final film, so when critics went in to see it, they thought it was better than it was. Nah, these people set our expectations to be so low that when the actual ceremony premiered, we wouldn't think it was that bad. None of these things were ever options, they were just a part of the plan. For some reason, there wasn't an open celebrity out of, all the celebrities in Hollywood, so they had to go hostless, and it ended up being the second best choice they could have made. The best choice finally were chosen to appear for the first award to show you what could have been golden, so let me just break down the acting awards. Regina King took Beale Street, which I obviously thought was going to be set. I mean, this lady even beat lead actresses in her category. I'm still surprised they didn't show Mahershala's clip In the Rain for Green Book, but seems like Green Book was too busy finding sponsors to back their movie because they felt guilty. Olivia Colman is legit that gif I made of her for the favorite LME, as she came in and stole the award that no one expected her to win. And then the Oscars, of course, proved lip syncing is up for awards as Abby from Chicken Little won. Now, let me be real. I am happy that Rami won. I love the dude, but it's like when Leo won for The Revenant and you were happy for him, but you knew it wasn't the best role out of all the ones that were nominated. Like even ignoring the Legacy Awards. It's like Mahershala this year with Green Book. I like both of these dudes. I personally don't think they were the best in their categories though. Like sure, it was a fun movie, and I know that a lot of people are always defending the film saying that everyone who hates Bohemian Rhapsody is just cynical or they just don't get the point of it, but it's just like, I thought Venom was a fun movie. I thought Hardy went all in. That don't mean my man's gonna get a nomination. I mean, Rami literally wasn't even speaking in the clip they showed for his bit. Like, his movie was the one that opened the ceremony, and yet he wasn't performing at the start. The one actor who actually performed that night because he actually directed himself didn't get anything. So RIP for those who were robbed, and here's hoping that one day Amy Adams will win for Arrival. But let me continue with the positives. I was actually really excited for Free Solo to win. Obviously, I really also love Won't You Be My Neighbor. That didn't get nominated, but Free Solo ended up being one of my favorites of the year, especially with the ones that I caught later on. I think First Man personally had the best score of the year. It was so good. One of the Migos used it for his album, but seeing Ludwig win it for Black Panther, when my man's been working with Coogler since his first feature Fruitvale Station, I think it's incredible. I've been following Ludwig since the OG Gambino days, and now seeing him win Grammys and Oscars in the same year is freaking crazy. Bao was dope, but I'm telling you right now, watch Late Afternoon. Like, this is even things with actual critics and fans and movies. We always ignore these categories right here, but I'm telling you right now, if it means anything to you, Free Solo and Late Afternoon, out of the 425 movies that I saw last year, these were the ones that slipped through the crack and I saw late that I wish were on my list. The foreign film winner went to Mexico for the first time, which is cool, if we hadn't been sweeping that directing category for half a decade. A lot of people were iffy on the Black Panther wins, but I personally think it deserved every single one that it got because it continues to show the talent Coogler partners himself with. Plus, everyone's been caught up with the hype around Black Panther because it's its first year, and boy does it feel like this movie's been out way longer than a year. But give it time, and I personally think that this movie, this world can get its own theme park because of what the Oscar winners have built. Like to some, obviously a lot of movies are always just going to be dumb genre films or superhero films, but I truly believe that the sets that they built for this world will eventually be up there with Hogwarts and Middle-earth as they expand the franchise. As for the people who are still tweaking on those who didn't put Black Panther in their top 10, let's not act like Coco was in most of yours either.
Once again, here are this year's nominees for Best Original Song.
I personally feel the music could have been completely cut out. Like, Kendrick didn't even show up for his performance, and the rest of the people didn't even perform for what were their songs. I didn't even know RGB had a song. I saw the performance, still don't. They picked the 47th best track from Mary Poppins for some reason. There was a lot of yeehawing, but then this actual sexual intercourse disguised as a musical performance happened between Cooper and Gaga that floored the room. Like, they just raw dogged it with no intro introducing them. These two came from the freaking crowd. Lady Gaga really performed like she was going through those emotions for the first time again on camera. And if it wasn't for Bradley's wife looking like this, boy, would I have kept an extra eye on her after this performance. Still will. Pretty much the Hostess Oscars weren't that bad, with a lot of new creatives winning awards, and it seemed like film Twitter, for the most part, was enjoying the ceremony.
The Oscar goes to Bohemian Rhapsody, John Ottman.
Alright, I'm laughing because, for starters, film Twitter was making fun of the underrated masterpiece that is Vice and its editing, only to see a TikTok movie win. It even won for both sound awards, which is really interesting because the sound mixing makes sense because you got to mix the actual music and then have it blend in with Rami's voice. But a lot of people keep forgetting what sound editing is supposed to be. I mean, here's even a little look at the Bamboozling, where the campaigns actually tell voters to just combine the two, and that's why they usually win. But sound editing is the creation of actual sounds that then will get mixed. Bro, y'all just pressed play on Apple Music. Now, if we take the other things that the voters broke down about the campaigns that were given to them, we saw that they were seeing Rami everywhere. My man was like a politician seeking votes, but that way, since they're physically seeing a person, that's who's going to remain on their minds. The other is probably the same reason why First Man won over Avengers for Tech, and that's that both of their campaigns, as told by the Oscar voters, included side-by-sides of the real footage and how close they were able to get to the original images. Thus, that's why a lot of the Queen fans who grew up watching the Live Aid thing were really excited to get that pitch to them. So it's not that I hate the cast and crew. I think it's a fun movie. I think it deserves editing because of the mess my man got back from two directors. It just got to the point that I found it confusing how everyone who won an award was doing their best with the speeches to make sure that they weren't mentioning the director, and for whatever reason, film Twitter was grilling them for not mentioning the director, and it's like, ain't that what they're supposed to do? Y'all confuse me sometimes. So with that, let me get into the bamboozling. Did you know 60% of the voters never saw 12 Years a Slave when it won Best Picture? I feel like that's an important thing to start off with because it sets up how even when a movie is great and deserving, at least in my opinion, the Oscars find a way to make its win meaningless? For me, like 60%, bro, I know film critics who watch more movies than y'all do, and y'all get them sent to your house. Now, some would argue that because the Academy is made up of a lot of industry professionals, that they're too busy to watch all the nominees, but like, I'm not signing up for the marathon unless I'm gonna run it, right? While it makes sense to have professionals within those fields be the ones who do the voting, it also becomes a game of who you know. Listen, if you live in LA, have you ever noticed the billboards that say for your consideration, knowing good and well that it has nothing to do with your actual consideration or the other 90% of the people in LA? It's because the entire awards run is a campaign that's happening behind the scenes, behind all of the interviews and stuff that we see, where there's an actual group of people getting paid millions of dollars to jerk off whoever's voting. That's why they get screeners sent to their door. Merchandise and goodie bags that we've never seen specifically meant for the voters. Guest appearances by celebrities so voters can remember you. Roma itself spent $25 million on the campaign to win an Oscar. If you were a college athlete, man, you would have been fine the first day. Did y'all really think the Oscars voted for what's best? For free? Some of y'all didn't even know that there was a whole business going on the side. And what's even worse is how petty it gets. Some people legit admitted that the Academy was like a high school where everyone was just petty, voting for who they know. From real voters admitting they'd never watch, much less vote for a genre film, with quotes stating, "There's just no way on earth that I will ever vote for anything with the word Avengers in the title." Like a lot of people in the Academy, I don't respect money grabs. Ready Player One is different. I'm just going to end that quote right there. What? Others claiming they'd never let Disney win because they're from an opposing studio. Even calling Black Panther the stuff that oozes out of dumpsters behind fast food restaurants. Pause right here, reminding you these are the actual voters. This dude said he voted for Spike not because he loved BlackKklansman, but because he liked his movie from 1989. Same way this lady didn't care for the wife at all, but she voted for Glenn Close because she liked her film in '88. This person voted for Olivia Colman because, they knew her. This lady let us know she slept with Buzz Aldrin for some reason. Same lady voted for Richard E. Grant, who she didn't know his name, but because of a post of him crying on Twitter, she really liked him, voted for him. Mostly everyone admitted to not watching Eternity's Gate. 100% serious. They did not watch Eternity's Gate because they thought it was too boring. Others didn't even know Mariah existed. Hell, this man admitted that voters don't watch things they're foreign to because that way they then don't have to vote for them. And some people legit just don't vote for categories. These are the people who define the best picture of the year. See, I don't care if someone has a favorite movie that's different than mine, even if that movie has a U, but knowing that there's worse things that are admitted to, other than the quotes that I've shown you, is terrible. They're not even voting for what's best. It's either whoever has the best campaign to please you or who has the most friends. That should change the way you see the Oscars. See, I know a lot of critics and film fans who have a passion for the craft, who try to watch everything they can and see the merit in them. So for it to be a bunch of tenured folk who can't even be bothered to watch the literal 40-something movies that get sent to their house, while others are watching hundreds with no gold to give out, come on now. So in my opinion, if the Oscars are supposed to be the be-all when it comes to movies, then get people who are willing to, I don't know, watch the movies. Like, I've been to dozens of press screenings in New York City and LA, and unless it's a blockbuster, them hoes be empty as can be. So how about you check in voters, and if they're not showing up and they haven't seen all of the movies that are nominated, they don't count. I know for a fact that you can track screening links for those who can't even leave the house, but getting voters who are just there to fit their agenda, getting voters who are literally voting for their friends? Nah. Remember the conspiracy theory I had that all the decisions pre-show were fake just to get our expectations down so we like the show? Well, I believe all the voting is similar in order to get the most reactions for the show.
And finally, the results of all the secret voting are known only to the independent accounting firm of PricewaterhouseCoopers until the sealed envelopes are opened on the air.
Sure. But y'all still are the ones who sealed them. These guys leaked how they knew they were going to get a viral moment out of Spike. How Olivia Colman's win was designated to be the biggest surprise of the night. In fact, did you know the Oscars nominated a live-action short called Detainment that tells the true story of these two demented boys who brutally tortured and murdered an infant? And when the parents of that murdered child found out that this movie was nominated for an Oscar, This Is Real, and demanded the movie itself be destroyed, the Oscars still showed it as their nomination. They ain't care. Did y'all know the Oscar-winning short Skins about a white supremacist is about a white supremacist earning his stripes, but that the filmmakers already have a feature-length film named Skin that actually premiered at TIFF and is set to go public soon? So it almost feels like this whole award push was built so that the feature project has something to run on. And just to end this rant on a really random one here that doesn't have to do with the ceremony but the watchers, I saw some people making fun of this kid at the awards and making memes out of him, only for it to be the son of Alfonso Cuarón, who has autism. And I only bring this up because some of those same hippos making fun of this kid were the ones trying to cancel Cuarón in December, claiming he didn't love his son because he had autism. Man, I wish I had the cancer fever y'all have on Twitter.
And all of them will leave tonight with those films untouched. They will be the very same films they were when we all walked into the ceremony.
Exactly, Theo. And some are so bad too. So you see, when people get mad, I don't mean upset, I mean mad about certain Oscar picks, it just feels pointless when you see how the Academy actually votes. And I know that's something not a lot of people have looked into with how the Academy works, but it's just one of those things that when you see Green Book win, and I hear...
And this doesn't start, by the way, without Viggo Mortensen. Right there, we have no movie. All these awards are because Viggo.
At that point, I truly start believing that the entire Green Book project was actually built around helping Viggo get his Oscar. And then everyone won but him. How do you accidentally win Best Picture? You'll hear people calling out how no one but Mahershala even mentioned Mr. Shirley in their speeches, how the one black producer had to enter a lottery to even get a seat at the event, or how the main producer sent threats to critics who didn't like his movie. Damn, like, I know some of y'all don't like Bohemian Rhapsody, right? But at least that movie tried to fix and distance their wrongs. These guys keep Liam Neesoning their own motives behind the scenes. But as someone who literally called all of this in a video months ago, how are you gonna take seriously an event that forgot to come up with an ending for their own ceremony?
Well, apparently that wraps up up the 91st Academy Awards.
Thank you guys for watching this video, and a big thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring us. You know, we have a whole podcast about the Oscars as well that's going to be hosted on our A to Z Show website, run by Squarespace, in case you wanted to hear more of our thoughts. But a big thanks to them because we'll be upping our site with their easy-to-use templates to get more movie coverage out. We got a lot more articles, a lot more videos that are going to get hosted, and we'll be using their merchandise feature to push out our cartoony self on t-shirts. So if you wanted to build your own bad boy of a site so we can follow your awards coverage for next year's Oscars, head over to squarespace.com/letmeexplain and get 10% off when you sign up. They got you with 24/7 support, easy domain transfers, and I'm telling you, the easiest platform to use to get the look you want. So shout out to the site of sites you guys hear about all the time, because they really are the real deal, and they're a blast to work with to get more content out for you guys. So shout out to Squarespace. Obviously, I'm curious to know your guys' thoughts out there. You know, I feel like I'm always the most honest right here at the last bit because, like, the real LME fans stay for that. And I mean, you guys know that I'm very critical about the Oscars, but you know, it's one of those things that I've looked up to since I was a kid, and it's disheartening to see all the politics. And by politics, I mean like bad politics. I'm okay with disagreeing with someone because they like a movie. Even some biases, right? Like, you see something that you grew up with as a child, war movies, whatever else. But when it's literally people voting because they don't want to vote for someone because they're of a rival studio or an ex-girlfriend or they slept with someone, or like the dumbest reasonings that they actually disclose, it's disheartening. But I mean, I don't think it takes away from an Oscar. It's really just become a marketing point for Oscars, as we know, because when someone wins an Oscar, where do we see that text again? On the marketing for the movies or for future films. So I get what it's for, and it's one of those things where I've less cheered for a movie at the Oscars, but more so for a person, because I think what makes it worth it are the speeches. It's one of those things where I'm sure many of us would love to give the speech and thank the people as we get honored for an award that hopefully will have more merit as they fix the Academy stuff. But, you know, having that platform, seeing J.K. Simmons, seeing, you know, Spike take it, having that platform to say something, I think is really cool. And I know this will be the part that most people ignore and think I was just hating on the Oscars, but I'm telling you, there's so much merit, and when you're so passionate about something, I don't know, you kind of vent about it. But, you know, the Oscars are still something important, but the Oscars are still something where you're not a part of the Academy, but your #1 movie is still your #1 movie. So I'm curious to know your guys' thoughts on how the award ceremony went, what you look forward to next year, you know, a bunch of thoughts dealing with it. Let me know down below in the comment section. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, or they won't air any of it next year.
Is there something about Green Book that offends you? This is what I'm trying to get to.
Offend? Are you British?
Yeah.
Are you British?
I am.
Let me give you a British answer. It was my cup of tea. Not my cup of tea.